Hey guys, so this episode of Big Brother was kind of interesting because it was kind of like the storm last week for the eviction, where I didn't get to see it all, or I had to wait until the entire thing was recorded until I could see it, because otherwise it'd be all jumping and skipping and I have to wait like forever. But the reason why this episode was weird was because 60 Minutes, which is the show before Big Brother, ran over its time slot, so that interfered with the recorded time of Big Brother, which means I didn't get to see it all. But thanks to Angie Young in the Big Brother Facebook group, she informed me about what happened, which I will get to later. So to start off with, a little recap of what happened last week. Frank become H.O.H, Janelle goes home, and the votes are... Joe is the one person... Janelle goes home, and Joe is the one person that voted for her to stay. And because of that vote, Frank put him on the block. Or, he wanted to put him on the block, and he did. Again, these are my notes, that's why I'm looking down. After the eviction of the Janelle, Brittany, she has second thoughts, and she talks it over with Danielle, saying, why did we vote her out? She was my friend, blah, 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 stuff like that. So she was in tears, almost, actually. One thing that surprised me, actually, was instead of the coaches competition, because obviously the coaches came back in the game, so they had to remake another one. So if you guys have been watching Big Brother the past few years, you'll know of another competition, and that's the have and have-nots competition. Now, this competition was where the players dressed up as lemons or limes, and the limes was one team, the lemons were the other team. And what you had to do is you had to jump in a pool of juice. I'm guessing it was lemonade. And you had to take it back to this giant take thing, and one player who was not in the lemon or lime suit had to basically press all the juice out of you. Whether that was jumping on you, whether that was pressing, punching, and the people with that were Frank and Jen. Frank, he did it all normally. Jen, she was like getting into it, like she was sitting on them and bouncing up and down. She was pressing like she was doing CPR. She was doing crazy stuff. But the juice goes into tanks, and if your team fills up the tanks, whoever's name is on the tanks that's filled up is a have-not. And a have-not is where you eat slop, have cold showers, and you have to sleep on really uncomfortable beds in a really demented room, or not demented, a really distorted room. So being a have-not is kind of one of the bad things about being in the Big Brother house. So one thing that really aggravated me was during the competition, apparently the suits get heavy when they fill it with juice, but Frank, I understand, Brittany kind of played it up a bit, and she kind of, I can understand, she said she was 97 pounds, and the juice filled it up to 50 or 60 pounds, so that's like 2/3 her weight, and she's not a big girl, so she was slugging and she was moving, but at least she was moving. Frank, he was sitting there in the pool complaining about headaches and chest pains, and I think he said something about his legs. He just needs to suck up and get over there, because it's probably 10 feet. One thing that helped the limes were that the lemons, they were in the head and they were doing all kinds of good stuff, but they got a kink in their hose halfway through the competition, which helped the limes catch up a bit. Because you know how when you guys have a hose, there's a kink in it and not all the water goes through? Yeah. But even with that help, the Lime still won. So the people on the slop were Shane, Danielle, Brittany, Joe, and I think Jen. The only reason why I think is because I couldn't have rewound it because my family was sitting with it, and it would kind of were sitting there watching it with me. There we go. Still not used to sitting all in front of the camera talking, but they were sitting there watching it with me, and it would kind of be aggravating if I said, "Hey, can you rewind that for a sec?" But last week, America got to vote for what foods got to go with slop, and it was candy canes and cod, which I don't mind, because on the list, that was the best thing out there, so bravo, America. But later in the episode, Will comes up to Boogie and Frank, and he talks about, like, who's going on the block, and how he's actually okay with it, there's no hard feelings, blah, 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 because that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to put Will up on the block as a pawn, but put Joe up because of the one vote. But while he was in there, they asked him something like, oh, when Joe goes home, or if Joe goes home, who do you want to get out of the house next? And Will said something like, that's a dangerous question, and I'm not going to answer it right now. And Boogie took that as like a horrible attitude, and he didn't like it. So because of that, Will and Joe have been put on the block thanks to Angie Young, who I mentioned earlier. She told me Will and Joe got put on the block. Their target was Joe, but after the way Will acted in the H.O.H room, they have changed their minds for now and are going after Will. So they kind of shifted from Joe to Will, but at least both of them are on there, so in case their minds switch. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I got through, because, like I said, 60 minutes overran, I think like 20 minutes or something. So I don't know if anything happened after that meeting in the H.O.H room. I don't know if they talked it over with their alliance. I'm sorry. That is all I got for you guys today. Let me know in the comments below if you think Frank made a good decision. And if you were in Frank's decision, who would you put on the block? Alright, bye guys.